What is up, everyone? I'm Skratch. Welcome to the channel. This is another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today we got Ash on the channel and we're gonna talk about champions that we took too long to level up, champions that we slept on for too long, and we not necessarily regret it, but we're kind of like, why didn't we use these champions before? Like, what were we thinking? What's up, Ash? How are you doing, bro? Nice to have you on the channel.
Skratch, it's always a pleasure to be here, man. But first, I mean, listen, we can talk about our champions, but I got some issues with you, bro.
What is it?
Why do you take away the AK-47 out of your name?
Oh, I took it ages ago.
You probably did that years ago, right?
Yeah.
I just noticed. I'm like searching my YouTube for Skratch AK-47. I'm like, who's this Skratch Gaming? Skratch Plays.
Yeah, actually, I took it out like it must have been
like not family friendly.
2 years ago.
Oh my god, dude!
One of the reasons, yeah, you know, one of the reasons. But it's funny because I never stopped you from saying it. You're always like Skratch AK-47, you know. And
for years, I'm like AK-47.
I still like it, you know. I'm still going with the flow. But yeah, I took it out like a couple of years ago. So Ash, you want to start with one of the champions that you took too long, bro?
Yeah, man. Now, this is going to be a weird one. I want to start with a banger. One of my favorite champions in the game now.
Let's see.
And I always knew that it's Heroes of Soul Cage, first of all, right? And I always knew this big green fella was
what was
good.
the faction for him?
Undead or Undead.
Yeah,
he doesn't look like it. He looks like either Demon Spawn or like a Sylvan Watcher.
Exactly.
Like or something, you know? Tree Trunk, man. He's got tree trunks for hands, too.
He does look sick,
anyway, he does look sick. You know what he does, though, dude? Is it just me? Zoom in on his face. Does he look so sad?
Yeah. It's like, who took away my chocolate?
So sad, man. I don't know why.
Those eyes.
Anyway.
Are the eyes.
Yeah. And they just it breaks my heart, man. Anyway, listen, I knew just like everybody does that he can solo Scarab King, and I used him for that, you know, and he can solo more content as well. But man, the reason I have him, and I hope this still meets the spirit of the video, the topic, is I just underrated everything else about this dude. He's such a good champion, man. And he's like one of the earlier champions you get from the hard track of Doom Tower hard, you know? So he's not like, unlike some of the later champions who mostly suck, you don't have to play for 8 years to get this dude, right? So anyway, I mean, without reading every word of his kit on the A2, he's got like, so he's already dishing out so many poisons anyway through his passive, but on his A2, based on how many poisons, he's stunning, decreased speed, decreasing turn meter, all on a 3-turn cooldown, right?
Yeah.
And then, which is like really cool. On his A3, he's got the big version strengthen, the big version ally protect, which is great. 3-turn cooldown. And he's tanky, which is great. He's got the poisons on his passive that we all know about. But the coolest part about him is like how good of a provoker he is. The passive has no cooldown, obviously. And then the second line, I won't read the entire thing, but the second little paragraph, whenever an ally is attacked while under a strengthen, he's got a 75% chance of provoking them. It's like, dude, he's doing a lot other than just, putting poisons. And for a long time, in my head, he was relegated as the sad tree stump who just put poisons on Scarab King, you know?
Yeah.
What about you? Like this guy?
Yeah, I like him. I'm using him in the Scarab as well. I'm not using him anywhere else, but I tried him in Clan Boss. I tried him in a few areas before, and he was one of the very first few champions that actually had the strengthen, had the ally protection on the same skill, and he's, how you mentioned, one of the best Doom Tower champions that you're getting out of the legendaries, actually, and you're getting him pretty early, which is awesome, though. Resistance
I want to tell you a little story about this dude. I don't want to make this video 8 hours long, so I apologize, but it actually applies to your clan family, right? I forgot who it was, but it was a Mad. I went against somebody from Mad in the live arena, but this is like maybe 2 months ago, 3 months ago. I was in gold, so it was a top, 300 player or so, right? And they drafted Heroes of Soul Cage against me, man. I wish I remembered the name so I could give them credit, right?
Yeah.
But I remember kind of almost like, dude, do they know because it's Ash YouTube on my name and they're just trolling me? Like, I thought it was a troll, bro. And then they provoked my whole team. Dude, I'll be real with you, man. I just forgot that he can provoke off his passive, you know?
I forgot that too. I forgot that too, so,
like, my whole team was CC'd. I was provoked. I was poisoned. I was stunned. And I'm like, what the the heck? So anyway, I have a healthy appreciation for this dude now.
100%. Like, I completely forgot that he provokes as well, honestly. That's why I was
yeah.
like, okay, what is he doing that? I was like reading the skill, Man,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to give it to one champion that's honestly not being underrated. I just waited way too long to build him, and I feel like maybe the main reason was because we didn't had a hard mode dungeons at that point in time. Was a guaranteed champion, and that's Stull Dragon. Like, he is such an amazing champion. I don't know what was in my mind, why I waited so long to level up this champion, honestly, because he does everything. Tons of damage with the skills. The A1 double hitter, the A2 has a chance to stun, double hitter AoE again. The increased defense on himself has a chance to decrease crit damage or decrease speed. Very good damage from here because he has 2 AoEs, right? Maybe it was the affinity that put me off before, not going against Spirit when Duchess was kind of like in rain, The passive, immune to decrease attack, weaken, and decrease defense, not decrease attack, and the poisons reflecting them back onto the enemies, just so good, And I got him in my dragon team, and he's absolutely a beast, like absolutely insane.
Same. Who doesn't? If they have him, you're running them.
100%. Like, he's a no-brainer. It's like must use in the dragon. Defense aura for all battles, very solid, and he's very powerful for arena. How you mentioned, because we were talking about live arena before. I actually got my ass clapped a couple of times by Stull Dragon in live arena. Because even though I know what he does, I was not expecting him to actually stun my entire team, don't get polymorphed, and then just wipe everybody. And I was like, okay, thank you. Don't come back again,
Right? Good call out. I feel the same way about Stull as you do, man. I think he's a beast. I mean, the fact that he even has a 2-turn or 2-hitter stun on a 3-turn cooldown, it's like, man, I mean, he just got it all, dude. He's a beast. And the sneaky decreased speed that he has too on his AoE, like, he's just bringing so much,
He's 100%, yeah.
All right, I got. Let's see. I'm gonna go with my most controversial pick next, because I went with a kind of maybe an obvious one to start things out, and that is, and everybody's gonna be like, I told you this off air. I was like, one of my choices. I already know your viewers, man. Your viewers are smart. They know the game, so they're gonna be like, Ash got on Skratch talking about Gera Bogbrew being a good champion. The Bogbrew Skratch. So here's the thing, man. Gera, it was actually, I blame YST for turning me on to this this attractive young woman here. He got on my channel and he was like, dude, Gerda's the woman, the man, whatever.
The new war mama. Like, actually, she's nice. Like, I always liked her kid. But
yeah, so I was like, no, Gera Bogbrew. Everybody hates Gera Bogbrew. And he's like, dude, she solos faster than Bad Alcazar. I'm like, what? Are you crazy? But her kit is really not bad, and she's very tanky, so she can solo a lot of content. Why would you want to solo content? So you can farm up your food or do whatever in the background at the same time, be more energy efficient. She got the AoE weaken. She's got poisons potentially on her A2, which is not the best ability, but it's not the worst. But really, her A3 is great. Hemlock Surprise is a 3-turn cooldown, removing a random buff from all enemies, and then putting 2 poisons on all enemies, and then 2 debuffs from all allies. Oftentimes, 2 debuffs is all you need, you know, in the majority of times. And then on the Malign Tendrils passive, whenever an enemy receives a debuff, their turn meter is decreased by 3%. Like, that's really good for sustained crowd control, right? And again, her base stats are like really solid, easy to keep her alive, throw her in a little bit of regen, and you got yourself a solo beast. Obviously, there's a lot of solo beasts now in the game, but I think that Gera is not S tier or anything like that, but a champion that doesn't get the credit she deserves. I feel like people are too low on her.
100%. The main thing that puts me off, and it's just seeing that this champion has the flies too, the smell too probably, but it's just that she has a resistance aura for arena battles only, right? Like, nobody would ever use this champion in arena, so it's just such a mind-blowing thing that Plarium decided to give her a resistance aura for arena rather than for other places,
Yeah, and I stand corrected. She has no flies, only War Mother. I stand corrected. All right.
She does have something flying around there. It might be some different sort of insects, bugs there.
She got gnats.
Yeah,
gotcha.
exactly.
Cool. All right.
The next one that I have on the list, bro, is again a free champion. You can get her from the clan shop, and I waited with this one quite a bit. I waited quite a bit with her, and honestly, Yannicka,
Yeah.
absolutely. I don't know why I waited, but she deals a lot of damage, breaks the shield. So now, even with the bolster set being everywhere, because at the beginning when they introduced the bolster, right, not so many people had access to it unless they purchased the pass. But now we had it so many times that even the free-to-play players, they actually slowly started to accumulate quite a few decent sets, I would say, you know. So you're gonna encounter bolster pretty much everywhere nowadays. And having Yannicka with her ability to ignore the shield, you know, is massive, and she deals pretty good damage. AoE on the A3 puts the perfect veil that makes the other skill as well AoE, the basic one, you know, which is great. Then you have the A2, which attacks an enemy, places a perfect veil buff on the champion for 3 turns if the attack is critical, and then grants her an extra turn, you know. So you can open with this skill, move over to the A3 and just deal a lot of damage. Plus you have attack aura in all battles. She's actually a pretty solid champion, and progression wise, she's super powerful on the Fire Knight, you know.
Yeah, and I misspoke on the extra turn. It's an AoE ×2 on her A1 if she's under a veil.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty nasty.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
I agree. I feel the same way about Yannicka. I feel like she's a real monster of a champion, and you know her HP is leaves a lot to be desired, but her defense is pretty good for a nuker. Like you can keep her alive if you build her right. So I really like her. I really like her as well.
Definitely.
Good call out. Good call out.
100%. What else you have?
Yeah, so I got I wanted to give a rare who I probably shouted out one too many times now, but I'm gonna double down, and it's Abyssal, the Demon Spawn rare.
Yeah.
Listen, I mean, when Abyssal was released, I remember initially, just because any rare, especially who has an AoE on the A1, immediately gets my attention. You're like, okay, let's see, you know.
100%.
But I remember the rest of the kit, I was like, nah, not worth it, you know. But I was wrong. Abyssal is a beast, especially for the rare only content in the end game in terms of Doom Tower. There's a spirit rare only room. There's other rare only rooms or whatever. There's rare support only or whatever, you know. So several different secret rooms in Doom Tower. I haven't honestly, I don't know if this is controversial or if I'm in the a majority opinion here, but I would love them to have more end game rare only content, you know.
Yeah, would be nice.
You like that?
Yeah, 100%.
I like it. I like the restrictions in a way, especially if you've been playing this game for a couple years. Whether you're a big spender or not, it's kind of fun to try to get extra utility out of champions that aren't the most OP champions in the game. Anyway, throw them in a stun set. I underrated the block buffs on the A1. 30% chance block buffs is not that great. 35 with sniper, right? But 35% block buffs comes in handy more than I thought it was going to be, honestly. It's a nice little add-on, right? It's a nice little add-on. Yeah. So I like that. Constantly churning out the block buffs. Obviously, I put him in a stun set with Fearsome Presence for a 23% stun. The heal is nice to have, you know. It's based on their max HP, but it's still a rare healer on a 3-turn cooldown. And then the increased defense, increased attack, I was turned off by the fact that it's a 4-turn and not a 3-turn cooldown. I was turned off by the fact that they're the weak versions of the buffs instead of the strong versions. But then I failed to recognize how difficult it is to find, especially both of these buffs anywhere out of rare champions and rare only content, you know, especially Spirit Affinity only when you get more niche. So it's just nice to have all of this rounded out in one champion with the AoE on the A1. So I find myself using Abyssal quite a bit.
100%. He's actually very, very solid. I'm using him as well for secret rooms, how you mentioned. And it's actually impossible to find a replacement for this bad boy because he's that solid, you know. Thinking about it,
doing a lot.
100%. Yeah, he's very good at what he does, you know, and 100% I would recommend people to actually build him and use him there, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna go to another epic here. I mean, another epic, to the first epic that we might have in the video, and I waited so long to build this champion, and recently they added this new Void Legendary champion, right? Like the super OP one that has an amazing kit. They just added him this time, this patch, and I've just put them next to each other, man. And Deal freaking deals more damage than that hero, okay? And
then Vitreous or whatever.
Exactly. And I was like, yeah, Deal is the goat. Deal is the goat. And I waited to level up this for a long time. I just had constantly people telling me in comments, Skratch, try this champion, try this champion, try this champion. And I was like, okay, let me try this champion. And honestly, I'm disappointed, guys, that he only has 316 reviews. Like, what are you guys doing? Go and rate this champion off the roof, because he is amazing as a damage dealer. Minotaur waves, faction war waves, campaign waves. If you want to rack arena opponents, like, he's gonna do it like no one else. Ignores defense on the AoE with a single skill as well. Places a perfect veil if the attack is critical. Ignores 50% of the target's defense. The A1 a double hitter with a chance to freeze. Man, he just does a lot. Now, true, his HP is even worse than Yannika's, but he's an epic champion. Defense-wise, he's pretty good. It is a bit harder to keep him alive, but I feel like if you have access to a decent stone skin set and pair that with a cruel, you could still get tons of value out of this champion and keep him alive for the initial turn to go in and nuke after, you know?
Yeah. No, that's a good call out. Good call out. I agree. It's funny. We must have some similar viewers here, Skratch, because I had the same thing, the stampede of hundreds of comments over the years, on him. And I did the same thing. And I was like, wow, he does smack. It's like another one that comes to mind. This is not on my list, but Filja,
yeah,
about. That's
the
another
dwarf.
one that had the same effect of me. Like, I think she was part of a fusion, a couple years ago or whatever. And she also smacks too. Like, I had a similar experience. Nagorio, another one. Like, those are the three that I got a lot of comments. Flija,
Yeah.
Nagorio, and Dirindil. Like, and they all smack,
100%. Yeah, they're pretty solid epics.
Cool. I'm gonna go. I have an epic and I have a legendary to round out the list. I'll go legendary.
Okay.
It's actually a guy that I released a top 10 healers in the game video, and got a lot of comments that I was snubbing somebody, and it's actually Troth from the Dark Elves faction. And they were right. I was wrong. So in terms of raw healage and perfect veil, so damage mitigation, raw heals. What it all comes down to is, first of all, yes, perfect veil, 4-turn cooldown, lasts for 2 turns, counterattack and a strengthen on himself. The counterattack leads to more self-sustainability vis-a-vis the A1. Animus Infusion is one of those equalized to the top HP, like the best heal in the game. And it is, and he has Ally Protect on top of that as well on the initial target.
Yeah.
But where it all comes together, obviously, is the Transmute Pain. Decrease the cooldown of that A3 by 1 turn for every 10% of HP this champion loses. So you can basically reset that complete heal, essentially, and just start chaining heals like no other. So really unique hit in that regard. And I like that if it wasn't just having the complete heals, to me, is not enough to justify, like, because a healer needs to be more than just a healer nowadays, I feel like,
Yeah, 100%.
especially to be end game viable. So I love that they have the perfect veil on top of that. Obviously, that's 15% damage mitigation from AoE attacks, plus the untargetability or whatever. And then you could throw them in, if you want to, you could throw them in the old Guardian set and get even more damage mitigation at all times from this champion. So I really enjoy Troth now.
Yeah, he's actually really interesting. I didn't have a chance to actually take him in for a spin to do a proper guide on him and stuff. Might do it at some point in the future, but a lot of people are saying that he's bringing a lot of healing, which is definitely a good thing.
Yep.
I'm gonna go legendary this time around as well, and it's gonna be no one else but Tomblord. Now, I waited quite a while to level up this champion, and I think I initially started using him in the Hydra clan boss. Even though he was pretty interesting for the Fire Knight before on the lower stages, something kept me away from him, honestly. I don't know why, but he has triple hitter on the A1, tons of poisons, especially if he crits, defense down, decrease attack, decreases the turn meter as well, accuracy aura for Doom Tower battles. Base stats fairly decent, but something always kept me away from it. So what I've done, when Hydra came out, I chucked him on a provoke set at some point after, actually, because they only changed the head of decay after a while. But I used him for quite a while in Hydra for decrease attack, defense down, decrease speed, poisons to help me a bit with the damage. We didn't have that many options to use in the Hydra at the beginning, actually. So I used him quite a bit,
Same. I've always loved Tomblord, to be fair. I cannot believe they buffed him. It's
They,
like, out of all the champions in this game, you buff one of the most arguably one of the more powerful ones. It's kind of like when they buffed Venus, you
or
know?
Warlord,
It's
you know, in the same
or
situation. Yeah.
Warlord, yeah. Or who was the more recent one? Ethos. Like
Yeah.
not again, Ethos, like I think it was a great buff. Not to be fair, you know, but it's like it's interesting sometimes the choices they make. And Tomblord's another one. I use Tomblord in two areas. I use him in Fire Knight Hard 10 as my decreased speed and
Yeah.
the triple hitter on the A1. And I use my debuff. Well, I don't use them as debuffs on the Fire Knight, but I can use them earlier to set up Seer or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I use him on poison combust teams because he brings 4 poisons.
Yeah.
And I don't have Calvalax. So there we go. So yeah, I also love Tomblord. Good call out.
Same, and I'm getting weekly a lot of quests where I gotta put 10 debuffs on a boss. You know, I'm always taking Tomblord and Xavier in.
There you go.
I'm not using him in the Fire Knight 10 anymore, but he used to be my main decrease speed in there as well. Now I kind of like changed the team around completely, but he's actually MVP, guys. Tomblord, definitely invest in him if you got him, you know.
You know what, dude? I'm calling an audible right now, and I'm switching my last pick. I was gonna go with my Celiac Priest Ornn, who I love.
Yeah, interesting one.
But dude, how can I feel like you got me in the Night Revenant section of my game, and I feel like I have to do Eric's, man, because Eric's
right?
to me is the quintessential champion that I slept on. I don't know, like I don't know who it was. I forgot, honestly, but like no one seemed to be positive on Eric's when she was released as a, daily login champion.
I think it's just the free champions, bro. Like nobody seems to be very excited about them because they're free, you know?
I don't know why. I don't know why, but she had the worst reputation upon release. And boy, it just goes to show you that champions of this game do not judge until you can try them out, because she smacks, I want to say, besides Taurus, the hardest hitting HP based champion in the game, especially when you factor in the 2 strong AoEs, on the A1, on the A2, especially with the stun, with the counterattack, with more AoEs on the A1, with the ally protection. I mean, the only knock on her, I will say, is maybe like not the most end game utility, other than like HP only secret rooms. Maybe I'm wrong though. Maybe you can have some fun. Define end game. I guess I'm saying ultra end game,
Yeah.
But you can definitely use her in Faction Wars, in Hydra, and she's tanky, so she's easy to keep alive. So Ice Golem, it doesn't matter, right? So I'm gonna choose Eric's instead because she's so much fun. Even in the arena, you can really just mess people up with Eric's.
100%, man. And a lot of people use her even in the high-end arena. Like I've encountered her in live arena quite a few times, and I've seen so many of them in tag team arena.
I take it back. She is end game viable. I take it back.
She's pretty end game-ish, honestly. Yeah. I mean, she's not gonna be platinum arena material or very high live arena material, but she's pretty good for the rest, 100%.
And that passive, man, that passive fills the champion turn by 5% each time an ally inflicts a critical hit. Like that's nice, like it's just like a little battery always operating in the background on her too,
Yeah, pretty much. And the healing, everything that she's getting from that is actually pretty helpful all around.
Yep, for sure.
I'm gonna go for an epic, and she's kind of like more newish. I mean, I can't even remember how long ago they added the Sylvan Watchers. Time is just flying. I'm only saying newish. Probably it's been 1 year, but
it feels like it might have
it.
been like, okay, so the first Sylvan Watcher legendary was it Elva?
Yeah, it was Elva, was Eilil, King Yalkabar, and Ruark, right? That's what we had.
Yeah, that feels about a year ago, man.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're right.
My
it feels
God,
like just
time's
yesterday.
Flying. So I'm gonna go with White Dry Nia.
Okay.
So I got her pretty early on. I haven't used her for months, right? It probably took me at least 6 months to build this champion after release. And AoE on the A1 with decreased speed, which makes her great for Hydra. The A2 is kind of like the cherry on top. Removes all debuffs from a target ally, then heals them by 40%, and resets the cooldowns of the skills by 2 turns, man. This enables so many crazy things. I've done a very interesting thing with her on a Spider hard mode, where I was actually decreasing the cooldowns of the enemy max HP champion with her, and just nuking the rest, because people don't have Chimars, people might not have a Renegade, somebody might have this. And even with Renegade was not working as good because everything was a bit different. You needed that cleanse as well next to the reset.
If I run her with, because I haven't, I mean, obviously, for whatever reason, my mind goes to like Hydra in terms of a use case. But so if I run her with like Newt, you know, like Newt,
yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Newt,
So he goes in Spider Hard 10, he uses Blessed Bash.
Yeah.
And then she comes in there, she resets the cooldown. It brings it down to what, like a 1 turn or 2 turn left on it.
Yeah.
And then you just cycle 1 more turn and then he kills.
Yep.
Cool.
So I was using it on Royal Guard. Basically, he was doing takedown.
Okay.
Then he was doing the takedown right before the Queen was taking a turn. The Queen was hitting him, putting him to sleep. So I needed her to come in cleanse so he can take his turn and decrease the cooldowns too, you know? So that's how that was working. But for Hydra, very solid on the lower difficulties to reset skills on heroes. Like, nuts what you can do with her. Then you have the
really
ally
cool
protection.
With Geo,
Yeah, Geo and big heavy hitters, you know, like she works wonders. Strengthen as well, and the passive gives you a bit of a extra healing there. She's an awesome epic, 100%, man.
I have one question before we wrap here, man.
Yeah, of course.
Have you I've got my attention because I'm looking next door here. Have you tried anything at all with Ayala Lifebraid?
Yeah, so she's the relentless one, right?
Yes,
with the
yes,
passive.
yes. The
I
instant
did.
Turn. Yeah.
Interesting hero. The problem was that has a cooldown, you know? And
1 turn. Yeah,
it's only a 12% chance. So if it was no cooldown, that would have made this much better. Still not broken because it would have been a lower chance than an actual relentless, you know? So
yeah,
that's kind of like what puts me off with the champion, you know?
Yeah, it sounds so good, like, oh, wait,
Yeah.
you grant extra turns, but you're right. It's a 12% chance, and it's 1 per turn, you know? So, yeah, I hear that. All right, cool. Thanks.
Awesome to have you on the channel, bro. And guys, make sure you head over to Ash's channel as well. If you think maybe you slept on some champions, let us know in the comments down below. Curious to hear your thoughts as well, guys. As usual, appreciate all of you guys watching, and I'll catch you all soon in the next video. Peace.